From Moscow to Paris, the daring escape of a Russian journalist critical of the invasion of Ukraine. 64-year-old Ekaterina Barabash tore off her electronic bracelet before making the 2,800-kilometer journey out of Russia. She'd faced up to 10 years in prison in her upcoming trial. France 24's Catherine Norris-Trent went to the headquarters of Reporters Sans Frontières, and you met with Ekaterina Barabash.
Yeah, we sat down together for about half an hour and had a chat about her ordeal, her arrest, and her escape from Russia. Today was the first time she'd been seen in public since she went off the radar in Moscow after her court appearance there in February, when she was sentenced to house arrest. But she told me she feared that she would be sent to jail. And so with the help of RSF, Reporters Sans Frontières, Reporters Without Borders, and other activists, a whole team of volunteers, she told me, she managed to get out in a journey which lasted some 2.5 weeks through various countries. Now, she wasn't giving any details of that escape route for obvious reasons. It could compromise people's security, and it could actually prevent other people from escaping if they should wish to do so. But she did talk a bit about the conditions under which it was done. She had an electronic ankle bracelet which she had to wear at home. It didn't have a tracker, but it checked that she was in the confines of her apartment. It would send an alarm to the secret services if she stepped out. Well, she did so. She fled in a taxi and then got at a meeting point with another car. And then she sawed off her own ankle bracelet, this woman 64 years old, and threw it out of the window into the forest before undertaking various stages of this clandestine journey in disguise, always fearing she would be arrested. At one point, RSF lost touch with her. They thought she'd been arrested. They feared she'd been killed. So take a listen to her talking about how she made this escape journey.
It was very dangerous, it was frightening, because the cameras are everywhere. And we didn't know if they sent the instruction to local police. And yes, it was frightening. And it was... sometimes it was difficult physically, because I had to make many kilometers through the forest with my backpack. Sometimes I didn't have any apartment to sleep in the night. I had to sleep under the sky.
So she arrived in Paris a few days ago, at the end of last week, and this has been the first time that her whereabouts have been known. She is going to be asking for political asylum here in France.
She's going to be asking for political asylum. She said it was a difficult decision for her. Mother is 96, and presumably she may never see her again. Yet she says that she preferred this escape to the prospect of jail.
Yes, can you imagine making that decision? She had written posts on Facebook. She's basically a culture journalist, a film critic most of the time, but she was also outspoken about Russia's war in Ukraine. She herself was born in Ukraine. Her son lives in Kiev. This is a divided family in terms of location. So she was an outspoken critic of the war in Ukraine, and she posted pictures of damaged buildings. She talked about Russian strikes. She talked about the killings. And so she was arrested. No surprise, really. She wasn't surprised about this, but she said she had to speak out. And then she made this decision. She was surprised, she said. She thought she was lucky when she got house arrest, but she said that prison was coming. And so, yeah, she lived with her 96-year-old mother, and they chose to separate, knowing that she will probably never see her mother again. But she told me she thought that was a better life than in prison, and that her mother agreed with that, because she said, you know, she was even ready to take her own life rather than go to prison. Take a listen.
Russian prison, it's worse than death, you know. It was worse than death, and that's why I thought if they had, I didn't know the rules how it is happening. Maybe I thought that maybe they would come to me before the court and bring me to to the jail. I thought that I would get poison. I began looking for some poison, because no way to the prisons, no. Russian prison, no, for 5 or 7 years, no.
So she's saying there she was actually looking for a way out, which included even going so far as to poison herself rather than go to prison, because she feared the treatment that she would receive there, and said that, well, she would prefer death.
We saw those 2 clips of her. How did she appear to you?
You know, it's remarkable. She was in a remarkably good mood. She was laughing off questions about how dangerous this journey was. When people asked her, weren't you afraid? And she laughed and she smiled. She was bubbly. She's a very outgoing person. She was friendly. Lots of journalists asking her questions about her ordeal. I don't know if it hasn't fully sunk in yet. She was physically tired. I asked her if she was planning to meet up with her son, who she hasn't seen for more than 3 years because he's in Kiev, he's in Ukraine. And she sighed, and then this was a moment which was difficult for her. She said she'd hoped she'd try and arrange that, but because she has a Russian passport, it's going to be very, very difficult for her to get permission to go there. But she's hoping at some point that can become possible further down the line.
All right, Ekaterina Barabash, forced in a way to choose between her mother and her son in this instance. Catherine Norris-Trent, many thanks for that.